Welcome to Streaming News Network, where we deliver balanced reporting with the facts that matter. The Evening Edition by J. Claude McDaniel. Please like and subscribe.
This is J. Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. The United States government has increased its reward to $25 million for information leading to the capture of Juan Carlos Gonzalez, also known as Pelon, a dual United States and Mexican citizen who authorities say now leads Mexico's most powerful criminal cartel. The reward was raised from $5 million as part of a broader campaign targeting the cartel's leadership. Officials also announced a combined $100 million in rewards for several senior cartel figures, along with visa restrictions affecting relatives and business associates connected to the organization. Federal officials say newly unsealed criminal charges against additional high-ranking members are intended to weaken the cartel's command structure. Those charges include allegations of drug trafficking and firearms offenses. Authorities say the cartel is responsible for trafficking dangerous illegal drugs, including fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine, while using violence and intimidation to expand its influence. Officials believe Gonzalez assumed leadership following the reported death of the cartel's previous leader during a military operation in Mexico earlier this year. The organization is believed to operate across much of Mexico while maintaining criminal networks extending into the United States and other countries. Recent financial sanctions have also frozen assets and blocked United States business transactions involving dozens of individuals and companies linked to the cartel. Federal officials say efforts to dismantle the organization will continue as part of an ongoing campaign against international drug trafficking. This is Streaming News Network. An Afghan migrant and professional boxer is facing serious charges in Greece after authorities accused him of killing a British charity worker and concealing her body inside a suitcase. 26-year-old Sharif Ahmadzai is accused in the death of Elizabeth Jane Ross, a Scottish missionary and charity worker whose body was discovered inside an abandoned Athens building. Investigators say surveillance footage allegedly captured Ahmadzai moving a suitcase from an apartment complex on July 16. Ross' body was discovered 2 days later. Authorities are investigating whether the confrontation involved an attempted robbery, sexual assault, or another dispute. Police also allege messages were sent from Ross' phone after her death in an apparent attempt to delay concerns about her disappearance. Ahmadzai reportedly acknowledged moving Ross' body and using her bank cards to withdraw the equivalent of approximately $11,500, but he denies killing her. His American wife, Elena Hall, reportedly contacted Greek authorities after becoming suspicious about his movements and sudden access to money. Her relatives have since said her parents had concerns about the marriage before the couple wed in 2023. Ahmadzai faces allegations including homicide, robbery, and weapons offenses. The accusations remain unproven, and he is entitled to the presumption of innocence. This is Streaming News Network. Former top United States health official Anthony Fauci is facing renewed political pressure as lawmakers debate whether he should be held in contempt of Congress. A Republican-led Senate committee is preparing to vote on whether Fauci should face a contempt referral, a move that could potentially lead to action by the Department of Justice. The controversy follows a recent congressional hearing where Fauci invoked his Fifth Amendment right and declined to answer certain questions. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky accused Fauci of obstructing a congressional investigation and has argued that questions remain about the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. The dispute has also intensified after President Donald Trump announced the withdrawal of previous Biden administration actions signed through an autopen process, adding to broader political battles over executive authority and accountability. Supporters of Fauci say the investigations represent an unfair attack on public health experts and warn that targeting individual scientists could damage preparations for future health emergencies. Critics argue that government officials involved in pandemic decisions must answer questions about their actions and communications. The debate over Fauci's role during the coronavirus pandemic continues as lawmakers, scientists, and public health officials remain divided over accountability, transparency, and the lessons learned from the crisis. This is Streaming News Network. A University of Oregon football assistant coach is facing legal trouble after a reported crash involving allegations of impaired driving, reckless driving, and a bizarre exchange over his identity. Arashad Samples, who serves as the Ducks' assistant head coach and running backs coach, was charged following an April incident in Eugene, Oregon. Authorities say Samples allegedly backed a pickup truck into a parked vehicle and later left the scene. The other driver, Stephen James Young, said samples initially refused to provide proper information and identified himself as former National Football League star receiver Deshaun Jackson. Samples later said the reference was intended as a joke because Jackson was one of his favorite players. Dashcam footage reportedly shows the vehicles making contact, followed by a conversation between the drivers. The other motorist accused Samples of being impaired and said he followed him after the crash. Investigators say a field sobriety test was not conducted at the scene. Reports indicate Samples allegedly offered money and football tickets to settle the matter privately, but the other driver declined. Samples has disputed parts of the account, saying through his attorney that he did not immediately realize he had struck another vehicle and that he provided information. The University of Oregon said it takes the matter seriously and has taken appropriate action, but the school has not released additional details. Samples appeared in court for an initial hearing in July, and his next court appearance is scheduled for August 25. The allegations remain unresolved, and Samples is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. This is Streaming News Network. Nearly 9 years after a deadly gang retaliation shooting in Houston, federal prosecutors say all 6 defendants connected to the attack now face the possibility of life in prison. A federal jury convicted 32-year-old Shaquille Richards and Alexandra Nix, both of Houston, for their alleged roles in directing members of the 103 Street Gang to target members of a rival group known as Young Scott Block. Prosecutors say the retaliation followed a series of violent encounters between the rival gangs. Four armed gang members allegedly traveled into rival territory in October of 2017 with the goal of finding and attacking an opposing gang member. Authorities say gunfire erupted when the group found their target, who survived the attack. However, a 53-year-old innocent bystander who had no connection to either gang was caught in the crossfire and killed. Investigators say evidence presented at trial, including jail phone calls, social media activity, and witness testimony, showed Richards and Nix helped organize the attack and pressured members to participate. After the shooting, prosecutors say several suspects attempted to escape, leading to a vehicle crash, a carjacking, and efforts to hide evidence. Federal officials described the case as an example of gang violence turning communities into dangerous battlegrounds while innocent residents pay the price. Richards and Nix are scheduled to be sentenced in November. The remaining defendants have already pleaded guilty and are awaiting sentencing. The convictions remain subject to the federal sentencing process. This is Streaming News Network. The Department of Justice is launching a new multibillion-dollar grant program designed to provide funding for states and local governments dealing with immigration-related enforcement challenges. The program, known as the Bridging Immigration-Related Deficits Experienced Nationwide, or Biden program, provides up to $3 billion in federal funding through 2028. The money can be used for law enforcement purposes, including hiring officers, purchasing technology, training personnel, and supporting temporary detention facilities. However, the funding comes with a requirement: communities receiving the grants must cooperate with federal immigration enforcement efforts, including partnerships with the Department of Homeland Security. Supporters of the program say the grants will help communities manage costs connected to illegal immigration and strengthen public safety efforts. Justice Department officials say the goal is to support law enforcement and prevent future border security challenges. Critics argue the program uses federal funding to pressure local governments into adopting the administration's immigration policies. Some Democratic officials say the conditions could limit local authority over policing priorities. To qualify, participating jurisdictions must take part in programs that allow cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration officials. The program follows a broader effort by the Trump administration to increase cooperation between federal and local authorities on immigration enforcement. The Justice Department says it received more than 180 applications during the first month of the program, with additional funding opportunities expected. The debate over the grants highlights a larger national disagreement over immigration enforcement, federal authority, and the role of local governments. This is Streaming News Network. Football legend Brett Favre is parting ways with dozens of items from his historic National Football League career, but he says the decision is not about letting go of his legacy. Favre is auctioning more than 45 pieces of personal memorabilia, including game-worn uniforms and items from his playing days with the Green Bay Packers and his college career at the University of Southern Mississippi. Among the featured items are a jersey from a 2005 game where Favre reached a major career passing milestone, along with the uniform he wore in the 1991 East-West Shrine game. The collection is estimated to be worth more than $170,000. Favre says he has never been a collector and does not feel a strong attachment to most physical reminders of his career. However, he plans to keep his Super Bowl XXXI championship ring, which remains one of his most meaningful possessions. The Hall of Fame quarterback's decision comes as he continues living with Parkinson's disease, a progressive neurological disorder he publicly revealed in 2024. Favre has said his diagnosis has increased his focus on concussion awareness, medical research, and improving safety for athletes. He has also expressed support for efforts to better understand and treat Parkinson's disease, while acknowledging that no cure currently exists. During his career, Favre became one of the most celebrated quarterbacks in football history, winning 3 consecutive Most Valuable Player awards and leading Green Bay to a Super Bowl championship. Favre says the auction is simply a practical decision and not a reflection of his appreciation for the memories created throughout his career. This is Streaming News Network. A Republican senator is introducing legislation aimed at changing how federal housing assistance is distributed, with a focus on preventing undocumented immigrants from receiving certain taxpayer-funded benefits. Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee has proposed the End Housing Welfare for Illegal Aliens Act, which would require stricter citizenship verification for federal housing programs. Supporters of the measure say federal housing assistance should prioritize United States citizens and eligible residents, arguing that current policies allow undocumented immigrants to benefit from programs while some Americans remain on waiting lists. Hagerty says the legislation would address what he describes as loopholes involving mixed-status households, where eligible individuals and undocumented immigrants live together. The senator cited government estimates that thousands of undocumented immigrants may be receiving assistance through housing programs connected to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The proposal would also restrict certain federal community development grants for cities that do not cooperate with federal immigration enforcement policies. Supporters argue the changes would protect taxpayer dollars and ensure housing resources reach those legally eligible. Critics of similar proposals say the issue is more complicated, noting that many households include both citizens and non-citizens and warning that policy changes could impact families. The legislation comes as the Trump administration and Republican lawmakers continue efforts to increase immigration enforcement and revise eligibility rules for federal programs. The proposal must still pass through Congress before becoming law. This is Streaming News Network. Model and television personality Penny Lancaster is opening up about a deeply personal moment in her marriage to rock legend Rod Stewart, revealing how the couple handles disagreements and the importance of saying sorry. During a recent podcast appearance, Lancaster became emotional while describing a family moment involving Stewart and their children. She explained that, like any couple, she and Stewart sometimes have disagreements. But she recalled one morning when an argument in the car led to a meaningful lesson for their sons. Lancaster said Stewart asked her to stop the car, turned to their children, and apologized for the way he had spoken to her. She said he reminded their sons that couples can disagree but should never intentionally hurt each other. Lancaster described the apology as an example of what makes someone a better partner and person. The story quickly gained attention online, with fans praising the couple's honesty and their willingness to show that even long-term relationships require communication and forgiveness. Lancaster and Stewart have been married since 2007 and share 2 sons. Stewart, now 81 years old, continues to reflect on his decades-long career in music while discussing his future plans. The couple's message about respect and reconciliation resonated with many followers who said the moment showed the importance of compassion in relationships. I am Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. Thank you for watching and staying informed.
Thank you for viewing Streaming News Network videos, and also short and special reports. Please like, subscribe, and tap the bell to be notified of additional reports.